Go to Scott Bauer, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Let's do some trading. It's a good environment for traders here, Scott. It's a two-way trade, some up, some down. After a rough year here, should we be suspicious that the things that are up the most in 2023 were down the most last year?
I don't think you need to be suspicious. I think that's a lot of cash on the sidelines, people just trying to catch up a little bit right now. So I don't think it's suspicious, but I think you do need to be cautious on this, Oliver. And my caution really stems not from the layoffs, not from the rest of the tech earnings this week, not even from Powell and the Fed tomorrow. But my big cautious stance is Friday's jobs number. I think that the market is anticipating a dovish number, meaning, the 187,000 expectation, that it's going to be that or lower. If it is, great. If it's not, if there's a hint that, the job market is still as strong as it has been, and we get a number that is higher than expected, we could get a nice little quick sell-off in the market here, because that is obviously the focus of what the Fed has been looking at. And that's the one area that still is not, hasn't come in yet. So to me, that is really what I am keying in on this week. So
right.
if you've been in, especially some of these NASDAQ stocks, with the NASDAQ up 10, 11% this month, if you've been in there along for the ride here, not a bad time to take some off the table, in my opinion.
And how will you know, Scott, if the market does find the data point on Friday or anything this week really to be of great consequence? You watch bonds, you watch the dollar. It seems like the dollar has already basically picked its direction. So what's going to be the tell?
That's a great question, because bonds have flatlined over the last, couple weeks or so. The 10-year hasn't really moved outside of 350 to 355. So that's really flatlined. And the same with the dollar. The dollar's come down to that 102 area, slightly below here, and pretty much stabilized. So that's going to be a real tough tell, to be honest. I do think that we could see a little bit of a sell-off in the bond market, see rates a tad higher. I don't think, especially on the 10-year, I don't think we approach 4% at all, but, 370 to 375 on the 10-year would not surprise me whatsoever.
Okay. So the potential here for some volatility in bonds, does that create volatility in stocks? Do you think we go back into that relationship where any direction really for bonds causes some volatility for stocks, or does the direction for bonds have to be down in price, up in yield still to be what gives equities an issue?
Yeah, that's where I think the volatility comes from, is any sort of, kind of reset where people start to think again, oh no, we're not getting towards the tail end of this, and we're seeing rates go up again. So I think that is what's going to bring the volatility to the market. If we get the opposite here, and the Fed does their 25 basis points and Powell doesn't spook the markets, and then the jobs number comes in as expected here, okay, we definitely could see a rally, and I don't see the bond market affecting that. I think it's on the opposite side.
Okay. Hey, Bitcoin at 23,000, Scott, another area to steer clear until we get past all these economic data points?
Yeah, yesterday was really interesting, Oliver, because, after the big rally that we saw in Bitcoin, there was a ton of liquidations yesterday. That's what brought that thing back down below 23,000. There was just a ton of off-chain liquidations. So this, again, has coiled, right? If you take out the move higher that we had a couple days ago, then the sell-off, we're right back to where we have been over the last week or two. So this number is really, really important. And I think if we see the dollar just stabilized right here, and if we don't see those rates tick up, if we don't get, a real hawkish jobs number, you can see Bitcoin really, really accelerate from here. 25 is the next big hurdle to clear on the upside. I don't know that we get there on a dovish number on the jobs number, but that's something to watch for.
All right. I like it. Scott Bauer, thank you very much, sir. As always,
thank you, Oliver.
A good conversation for some traders ahead of big events this week. Scott, CEO of Prosper Trading Academy.